Police Commission, Wednesday, November 13, 2024, in-person regular meeting, 7 p.m. Watertown Town Hall, Town Council Chamber, 61 Echo Lake Road. Well, first thing we'll do is have a roll call. Robert, would you start?
Okay, Robert McCarthy.
Brian Bruss.
Richard Antonetti.
David Genetti. Carmine Verno. Richard Rossi.
And
I'd like to place Carmine Verno in for Jamie Hobart, Commissioner. She's not here tonight. Is that all set with you?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Just a reminder, we're going to have speakers here. Please go through the chair rather than directly to the people who are visiting us tonight. Thank you very much. Public participation. There is a mic up here. Anyone who would like to speak, please take the mic at the front here. Public participation, microphone in the front. Please state your name and your address. Thank you very much. Light should go on.
Yes, thank you. Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place in Oakville. So I wanted to be here tonight for the presentation about traffic and Main Street. And unfortunately, I was stuck in traffic, and I just made it here. So I'm going to watch the rest of it at home. But what I wanted to say is, and at the last meeting, you talked about this presentation, and you talked about addressing Main Street, Route 63. Main Street is also Route 73 in Oakville. And I think that that should be addressed as well. And one of the things that I wanted to possibly suggest is I come up that corridor off the Highway 73, and I come up. And when you get to the St. Mary Magdalene Church, there's the light there. And traffic is getting so bad that it's backed up pretty far. Sometimes if you're in a certain place there, I'm just watching my rearview mirror because I'm waiting for somebody to just come around and hit me. So, there's places where there's controls that say, red light ahead. I've seen them because I used to work in Wallingford, and there was one, it lets you know that the light's going to be red. I know that that's a state road, but traffic is getting very bad in Oakville as well, and traffic's very bad there. It starts there. It goes from there to Davis Street, and then you kind of open up, and people like to fly up from there. It's also bad coming down Hillside. Just yesterday, I was at the stop sign at Ball Farm, and two Complete Services trucks come flying down Hillside, and they turned right on red, and it's not a right turn on red, because people are in a hurry, and they're cutting over from there, and they're switching around, and they're getting down Davis and whatever. So, and this comes up at planning and zoning because the Sealy property is going to be developed. And unfortunately, as much as, the people in that area have tried to say you need a traffic study there, there's not one done yet, we don't know what's going on. That's going to be a really difficult piece of property to get, add more in and out on the property. I know that there was, at one point, the developer had presented something where they had coming out on Hillside, and I got to tell you that the only way you can do anything on Hillside is coming down the hill and making a right in only. Anything coming out of that property on Hillside is going to be a disaster. So I will have to watch as much as I can catch by the time I get home and see what's going on about this Main Street. But I'd really like to see Oakville addressed, and especially that corridor up until you get to Davis Street there. It's getting worse all the time, and I always turn up Buckingham. I will never go that from that light to the post office because you can be stuck there for 10 minutes. So it's pretty, it's quite congested. Is my word, congested. And thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. Anyone else would like to speak? Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Dawn Komornick. I live at 8 Woodvine Avenue in Oakville, Connecticut. My concern is I live on the one-way, And I don't feel that the signage on the street is adequate enough to alert people it is a one-way. There is a sign at the top of the hill that says "Don't enter," but it clearly does not indicate anywhere other than the bottom where Woodvine and Davis intersect that it's a one-way street. And I was just hoping that maybe we could get some better signage, or, because people coming, service people coming, they have no idea. If there's 12 houses in between those two signs, and if a service person or a delivery person comes, they have no idea it's a one-way street. Just yesterday, I was making a turn onto Davis Street to my home, and someone came down the wrong way on Davis Street, taking a left, and we all know that corner at Woodvine and Capewell where there's accidents all the time. There was almost a head-on collision there yesterday because the person was coming down the wrong way. So just my request is hoping that maybe we could get some better signage on the road so that people are clear that it's a one-way street.
And maybe, Chief, you can take a look at that. I think we looked at that area before concerning the signage,
Only for speed limits.
only speed
Yeah,
limits.
so we'll definitely take a look at it. If you could approach when you're done, ma'am, we'll get your information and
Oh, sure.
we'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like
Ma'am.
to speak? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Last call. Seeing no one, we'll move on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the October 9th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to approve the minutes of the October 9, 2024 regular meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion is carried unanimously. Correspondence. Tonight, we have with us the Director of Public Works, Jerry Litkowski. And Jerry, would you please come up to the mic in the front? And it will be dealing with various matters concerning traffic. As you can see, many people are concerned with not only Main Street, which is Route 63, a state highway, but also now, which was mentioned by an earlier person, Route 73, which is also a state highway. And that's one of the big problems. We are in charge of course, all the local roads, but there's no question we cannot not look at the state highways and how they impact the local roads. Maybe you can give us some highlights on what you see as a traffic problem, and then ultimately I would like you to stay for the next item on our agenda, which is a discussion regarding the new downtown parking lot. So first, your views on traffic in general on 63.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the board members as volunteers for making Watertown better. Also like to thank how we work with the police department on many different items in the town. I also brought with me today Bob Grand Prix, who's our road superintendent, Joe Millette, who's our assistant engineer, and Tony Sorello, who's works and helps me out as a mentor and a peer. Really, all three of them helps me out with the historical knowledge for the town. And I think one of the big things in how we work together was on 18 August. No one had to call us, but the police chief, the fire chief, myself, the highway department, and engineering department, we were all here that Sunday afternoon with the extreme flooding. And it worked quite well for us to protect the safety of the traveling public. Just before I get into it, I'm all about infrastructure and repairing infrastructure within the town. I could go through a lot of different things, like 140 miles of road, 33 miles of sidewalk, and so on. But I'm going to jump right into Main Street because I know you're volunteers and you only have so much time for tonight. So if I could go to the next slide. And I think today was perfect timing. The NVCOG had a meeting this morning in Derby, and we talked a lot about the projects going on in the valley, and they gave us a tour of Route 34 in Derby. If you've been through there lately, they've been doing exactly what we're looking at doing here on Main Street in Watertown with some of their design parameters and how they're making Route 34 work through Derby and the new Shelton Derby Bridge that they cut the ribbon on yesterday. So there's many different points that are on here. So the first one is, as we all know, the RSA was completed in 2018. I'm going to go a little bit faster, and I'll save it for the other slides. A load SIP grant was awarded to the town for our ADA handicap ramps. We're on our third and hopefully final review for 100-plus handicap ramps across the town. And that should be going out to bid this winter and spring. The other part was we did an Oakville visioning concept by SLR. And then, as you know, I could either talk about it now or wait to the next agenda item, is we have the parking lot construction that's ongoing in town for 53 parking spaces. It was a joint design effort by the town engineers, as well as, I know his first name, Skip, who was working for Mr. Greenberg. And basically, we are buying a parking lot. We are not constructing it. We didn't bid it. We helped with the design, and it's currently ongoing right now where the building that was located a month ago, and now it was knocked down, and you could see the progress each and every day that's ongoing. But we're not necessarily into the details of watching every single piece that's going in. We do get there about every other day, because since we're buying the parking lot, but we're not necessarily doing the construction management and oversight of the parking lot. But we know we're going to own it once it's built, so we know it's being built right. We do have a testing lab, testing for compaction, testing for when the pavement goes down on that parking lot, and also how those 53 spots are laid out. The next step beyond that is the Steel Brook Greenway design. Since it's part of the walking and recreational part of the traveling of the public, that's at 65% design. It's being done by Weston and Sampson. It's going from Unico Bridge to French Street and beyond. That one we're looking at bidding late 2025 into 2026, and we're looking at doing that in the construction season of 2026. The next slide is we did receive the federal earmark grant from Johanna Hayes for $3.75 million. It's at 80% federal, 20% town match. And the design is underway right now. You could see the surveyors out on the road over the past week from Ty and Bond. That's who was awarded the contract. I'm going to get into it further. The other part is we're using our ARPA funds as the town match. So for the 20% for the funding for the design. So that counts as part of the match for design and construction with heavy coordination with the DOT. Getting into, it was a great month in October. Well, we basically cut 3 purchase orders using the ARPA funding. The first one was for Ty and Bond to provide a 35% design that's going to go from Baldwin Street to French Street. And they're going to expand from the RSA as kind of like the baseline for that. And then once we get to 35% design, we're going to have 50 to 20 different items along Main Street between those 2 points of Baldwin Street and French Street. But we're only going to be able to afford so much because we only have $3.75 million. So we're going to get into negotiations to design what we could afford for that $3.75 million. The other part, though, is it gives us a great leg to stand on when we're chasing additional federal and state grants for Watertown. Once we have that 35% design, these will also come with cost estimates for each of those 15 to 20 different projects. We are looking to bid for construction late 2026 with the construction season in 2027. The other part of the bid is we cut a purchase order for FHI Studios to work from French Street to the Waterbury Town Line. So we are not leaving out that section of Watertown, Oakville, where it also turns into Route 73, going down to the Waterbury line. So FHI Studios is going to come up with more additional conceptual plans, cost estimates for us to go after additional state and federal bonding. The other part is on the next page, which I'll just jump to the bottom one. It is, we did receive an $800,000 community connectivity grant from the state to basically the picture on the bottom right is to remove the existing St. John's wall and build a new wall approximately 10 to 20 feet beyond the current wall, place a sidewalk in, and also a grass strip. We refer to it as where all the snow is going to go when they're plowing Main Street, but to have a walkable sidewalk from that corner down to Starbucks. This was awarded to SLR. We did soil borings, 3 of them, behind the wall, so we know what our design is for the structure, for the soil conditions that are at that site. So those are the 3 different purchase orders to get the 3 different designs ongoing. We also received another steep grant for Hemingway Park Road to be a one-way road coming off of Main Street. That's the direction of the traffic flow with angled parking on the street. That one, we're going to accelerate the design. We do have a 35% design that's in-house, done by the town engineers, but we're going to look to coordinate with Ty and Bond to bring it to a full design package ahead of everything else, since we have the steep grant for this project. So that's the big picture, the timeline that we're at for Main Street. I know one of the biggest things that was talked about was to improve the safety of the corridor. I know there's a lot of public outreach that's going to come out with Ty and Bond and FHI Studios, where we definitely need the input of the public in all the different boards and commissions that we have in town. And I know we have received a lot of input, but that's the key time where we're going to, I think we're scheduled for 3 or 4 meetings, scheduled a few weeks apart or a few months apart, to receive the feedback on all the, I would call it the historical knowledge of the residents in town to improve Main Street.
Just one question. What is FHI?
FHI Studios is a design firm.
Where are they located?
They are located in Connecticut. I don't know the exact town, but they have done a lot of traffic improvement studies. Complete Streets is the new catchword for this decade. And they are tied in with Ty and Bond, who is also a Connecticut firm. So it's just like if you hear SLR, Fuss and O'Neill, it's just the different engineers that are in the state of Connecticut that we're working with.
Do you know where they're located?
No, I don't know where they're located at.
First question that I have, and then I will open it up to other members of the commission. I was responsible for bringing the road safety audit to town At the time, the Public Works Director said we did not need one. When you have two deaths on a major road, 63, a state highway, I felt it was necessary we get some sort of action in that area. We're talking about going back to 2017, and here we are, I think, in 2024. It's a long way back. At that time, the Deputy Police Commissioner was with me when we went up to see the Highway Director for the State Highway Director, DOT, and Herm DeSena, and also State Representative Paletta. We sat down at a table and we were talking about painting lines and painting white lines, and they said they didn't have enough paint. At that time, the state rep said, well, I'll buy you several gallons of paint if you don't have enough paint for the state to paint lines. And if you notice, the lines in the downtown area are fading away. And I think a lot of relations have to be developed with the state highway department in order to get things done. It may take a meeting. When we went up to I guess it's up in New Britain, we went up to their headquarters, we met with the state commissioner, and we got a lot of action going. In fact, the state commissioner came to Watertown. But I want to get some idea, how are you going to approach something? One of the things I'm disappointed with the wall on the property there, I believe somebody was a member of the parish, was to negotiate with the, at the time, somewhere around 2017 or 18, with the members of the parish to move that wall back. And now you're telling me, when do you see us completing the wall? What was the date you projected?
We are going to have design completed springtime,
Okay.
this coming spring.
And that will be the wall, the sidewalk, all the way up to Starbucks?
Starbucks, correct.
All right. And at that particular area, you know there's two properties in there, correct? That are
Correct.
not developed. When you're putting in the sidewalk, I would assume you're going to have a single driveway entrance and exit for those two properties. In other words, I think one of the things important in design is developing less driveways. And this two properties, I'm sure commercial development will be ready to go once they see what is happening in Watertown. And I am disappointed with the amount of time some of these things take. One of the other things is a part of the road safety audit that there was to be beacons on, flashing beacons, especially at crosswalks in the downtown area. One is where the former Red Door is, and I believe there's another restaurant located in that current place, and one up higher by the library, up where there is another restaurant where a pedestrian was killed.
Yes, we currently have those in purchasing right now to go out to bid.
They are, because the last time I talked to the other public works director, they had them on order and ready to go. So when do you think you're going to get those in? Flashing beacons.
I have to get through the bidding process to get the construction timeline. But I just don't want to make promises to you. I know there was 10 to 20 years of promises when I came on board 2 years ago.
I realize it's new ball game for you.
There was, a 4-month gap because there was Roy Spina in between, and then a 4-month gap between Roy Spina and Roy Kavanaugh.
Right.
Lou Spina, I meant. So it's, the team is working hard. I could guarantee you that within Public Works. And we have a lot of consultants involved to help with the designs.
Sometimes maybe I'm too anxious to see some development on Main Street. I like the parking garage going down. That's something that was long awaited. And I believe I've heard you said 52 parking.
53.
3. I've heard 57. I heard 3 charging stations. What about the charging stations?
Yes, we are going to have a dual head charging stations that will give for 4 vehicles. And there's also 4 handicap spots within the parking lot.
Okay. The other thing, I want maybe, Robert, you could give us a little quick reading, and this was at the time the building was being knocked down, and this is some quotes that were in the Waterbury paper from the town manager. Robert?
Okay, yes, Town Manager Mark Raymond was on hand to watch the start of the demolition, which is expected to take a week, 2 days for the building itself and another few days to remove the foundation. The building formerly housed Westbury Music and George's Market. It will make way for a municipal lot with up to 57 parking spaces, Raymond said. The lot will remove on Main Street parking from the thoroughfare, increasing visibility for motors. We had 2 fatalities on Main Street, Raymond said, and it is our effort to make this area safer. It is also improving our ability to have a walkable downtown area.
And safety is primemost with this particular commission. And by removing parking on the right and the left, you get better sight for a car coming down the road. And that, I think, will alleviate a lot of the backup that is there. There may be more effort made to synchronize the lights on that particular road, but we're removing the parking on the left and the right side of the road. It gives the driver, I think, a clearer vision of what the road is ahead. And of course, the speed limit will be enforced. And I'm sure you are fully aware that we can't even touch a white line, paint a white line. We can't touch any kind of signs because it is a state highway. Do you see it? Would it be advantageous to meet with the Department of Transportation head in order to move this project forward more quickly, or do you feel you have a grasp to get this thing on the
No,
road?
the project currently is in our hands as the town. We have been meeting with the DOT. Our primary contact is Brett Stark. And
Who
we
was
have-
that again?
Brett Stark.
Okay.
So
And
we, with cutting the purchase orders, that was everything else before that was talk. Now we're in design. I've seen the surveyors out there the whole week, going throughout the corridor. And I don't want to commit, to, no parking or one side of the street parking. I would rather go through the public discussion, when we have our professional consultants who, the team that we hired, was through a selection process. We had to go through the selection process, in order to, receive the federal funding. And Ty and Bond, out of the, it was 5 or 6 different firms that we interviewed, is top-notch. Part of their study is looking at the traffic signals. In order, if you go into some of the larger towns, you would see you see the green ones and further on the red, but as you proceed up the road, they start turning green to push the amount of traffic coming through the corridor.
when do you have a next meeting with the DOT?
I talked to him on Friday. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. So it's just about, I would say, about every other week. But the big part is to get to a 10% design, and there will be reviews, and then the 35% design for that.
Well, one of the things you mentioned when you were talking, parking on one side. If you remember what he read, he said there would be, according to the town manager, no parking, which gives you total visibility of the road, of pedestrians. That's why the blinking walking crosswalk design is very necessary and has to be done. Once we get rid of parked cars on the right and the left, north and south, you have those safety gaps where people wanted to cross. They have the blinking lights which will stop cars. By raising your hand, they don't know what's going on. Most people don't even know you if you want to get across by raising your hand. That's the current situation to get across the street at a crosswalk. So I think it's important, installation of blinking lights and clearer marking of the street and no parking on either side of the street.
I do agree with no parking on either side of the street, but, you know, is it going to be the 53 spots, is that going to be enough to take all the parking at Main Street?
I think so, that's why we're doing it. 53 parking space, when you only have, I think, on the side street, 4 or 5 parking spots that are city parking, free parking. And it's a huge hill where people who want to get up to the parking space probably have a coronary just getting up and down that hill. So yes, I think the 53, 57, whatever the number is, and I realize you have dedicated spaces for handicap, which is, I think, very important. You have 3 electrical charging stations, and I believe has to be done before December 17 when they close down the asphalt plant. So do you think you'll have it all done by then?
We're working, there's a lot of things here to, you know, decompress and talk. So with the parking lot, we're working with a structural wall issue to the left side of the parking lot.
Is that a wall? You're putting up a wall that was not on the design?
It was in the original design, but currently, right now, we are working with the designer and a soil scientist. And it's not us, like I said, we're buying a parking lot. But we
Right.
noticed that there's going to be a future issue with an adjacent property owner that we want to make sure that your driveway is secure and safe. So we are pushing for a retaining wall along the left side of the parking lot.
How high?
It depends, it's different elevations going across the profile, but it's about anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet in elevation.
Okay. Any questions from members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, through you.
Yes,
First of all, thank you for coming. I appreciate you recognizing that we're volunteers here. And last I checked, we don't get a paycheck for this, but it certainly is satisfying work to serve your town as you do. Do you mind going back 1 or 2 slides? I forgot which slide. Yeah, okay, so those areas that you have marked there, are those being considered as alternate routes for Main Street to bring some of the traffic off of Main?
It's part of the study for complete streets by Ty and Bond. So that's within the scope of their project.
Okay. We, at one point, we saw a traffic study from like 10 or 15 years ago, and it identified that, well, the current greenway behind, I don't know if that's Unico Field,
Yeah.
behind the Dollar General back there, but from what we understand from the town manager, because that was developed as a greenway, that we can no longer consider that as like a alternate Main Street route.
I think
Is that
it was
correct?
probably considered out of the question because it's a floodway of the Steel Brook.
Okay.
And the amount of, you know, where are we going to get 10 to $25 million to put an alternate route in, and especially dealing with the environmental concerns. And that is, a good portion of that is heavy flow during storms. It comes up really quick. It drains about 10 miles of area of Watertown. And it's very dangerous when you're out there and seeing how the velocity of that stream going through there. There was no, like, civil engineering, you know, design to really put an alternate Main Street through that area. I think part of the corridor study is also signage. I know one of the residents early talked about, you know, at Buckingham Street, that is a state route all the way through. It has 2 different numbers, 855, and when you get further up, it changed to a different state route. I think we just have to inform the public with signage to try to direct the traffic to alternate routes to get around Main Street.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you
Also
say-
off of, you know, you could go Route 8 and come in off of a different street if you don't want to come through the 73-63 corridor.
Good, and I'm also, I'm happy to hear that we're thinking of ways to divert traffic off of 73 and 63. And as the member of the public stated before, I really do think the issue starts at the town line with Waterbury and Watertown, and I see that you had that noted in your presentation, that we're looking at Main Street all the way down to the
Yes.
Waterbury town line, which is encouraging. Because she reminded me when she was talking about that, I work in Waterbury, and I do come up Watertown Avenue, rather than go all the way up Route 8, which is an option, but it's a little bit further for me to take Route 8. But it reminded me of why I turn onto Falls Avenue and go up to Shaw's Hill and then go up Buckingham that way, because I try to avoid that Main Street corridor, because it does back up quite a bit on that, at the town line, at the intersection with Buckingham Street at St. Mary Magdalene's Church. So that definitely is an issue there. And I don't know if we can ask the state, I know we have a lot going on with these projects, but it really does need a sign, Chief, their stop sign or stoplight ahead, because people come around that corner and then traffic is right there, and there's been some close calls. So that's probably something we might need to address before.
Which interchange is that?
So as you're passing on Watertown Avenue, you pass the town line there at the pin shop,
Yep,
and then the road comes,
Yep.
if you're going northbound,
yep,
where they just built the new wall there by the church. As you come around that corner, if traffic stop, if you don't
Yep.
realize there's a stoplight there and there might be cars there, people are going too fast around that corner. And I don't know if there's been incidents there, but it certainly is an area of concern.
I can send an email to DOT Traffic Engineering tomorrow requesting them take a look at that area and consider a red light when flashing
Perfect,
type
yes.
sign. But again, I would ask the commission to please not hold your breath for action.
Understood. Understood.
Any,
You
continue.
know, I was just going to say, all this is encouraging, by the way. I was aware of some of this. I wasn't aware of all of this. And it's good to hear that we're considering Main Street as a whole up to Baldwin Street, from the Waterbury Town line north all the way to Baldwin Street. It's very encouraging. So thank you for your efforts.
Any other comments?
Yes, how many parking spots are on Main Street for cars? I mean, between Woodruff Avenue and maybe up to Hemingway Park Road, I don't know, there certainly wouldn't be less than 50, whether that lot is going to hold 54 or 57 cars.
I could,
Well, just out,
I'm going to take a count.
Okay,
Being an
yeah.
engineer, I just don't want to,
I know
guess.
what you're saying, but I think the lot would hold all the cars needed to be parked on Main Street, because there's not, 54 cars aren't lined up from Woodruff Avenue either side up until we get up to even Hemingway Park Road where we're on. And the other comment I'd like to make, I'm very impressed with that wall in front of St. John's School, because I daily come down Woodruff Avenue and took a ride onto Main Street, and that's tight there, and that looks wonderful, that wall pushed back, the sidewalk and the grass next to the sidewalk before the road is, it looks great. And I-
Yeah, and many times you see students from the various schools walking right there at that location.
And I know there is a house between St. John's School and Starbucks up on the hill there, so, and they have that long driveway going up, so I don't know if one driveway would serve both of those pieces of property there that are, one was the house that it took down that was vacant for a long time, so I don't know if you're gonna put only one driveway there for both parcels.
Usually for each lot, you have a separate driveway,
Oh, okay.
unless somebody wants to, develop it and combine the building lots into one.
Okay.
So I did take that as a note to look at it from the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Rich?
Question about the parking lot once completed. Does anybody have an estimate as to what the cost of the town is going to be for purchase?
I don't have, I know that was negotiated between the town manager and Mr. Greenberg. I wouldn't want to guess at that number.
Any other questions? I have some other questions. It's another matter on the agenda. It deals with school signage, going all the way back to April 10th, 2024. We had a meeting wanting some school signs, post.
Yes, I'd like to call up the Highway Superintendent, Mr. Bob Grand Prix.
Surely.
But I could, lead into it. I know we have the signs purchased. They weren't part of our budget. There was a lot of signs for the different avenues that you come into the schools. So it kind of leaves our sign budget very close to nothing left in it until the next coming budget. And I know the focus that I have Bob on right now and the team is pavement and drainage. And Bob, I know I don't want to steal all of your thunder for that.
I'll just pick up where Jerry left off.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, everybody. Bob Grand Prix, Highway Superintendent. As Jerry had mentioned, we do have the sign package at our facility. When we did get the list of signs that were needed to be installed, it took, I don't know, maybe a month or so for them to come in. But by then, we were already into construction season. We were already starting to pave, and we've been going pretty steadily at the paving and the maintenance of the roads since that time. And I do have the sign installation on our schedule, probably not until, well, it's definitely on our schedule for December. The asphalt plant in Waterbury closes on the 13th. That pretty much brings our construction season to an end. And that's when we will shift gears to, as long as it's not snowing, to sign repairs, sign installations, tree trimming, sidewalk work, anything that doesn't require asphalt. So look for the signs in December.
Very good, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments? Any other comments?
No.
Hearing none? Chief, I'm going to turn to you. How are we doing with the state, with Buckingham and other state roads? I think you had some communication.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and first, thank you very much, Mr. Lukowski, Mr. Grand Prix, for your time and your very educational presentation. So, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. As you recall, in our October meeting, I did not have an update for the commission from the state. However, the day following that meeting, I did finally receive an email back from the Department of Transportation regarding the school zone signage project that we did request of the Department of Transportation for the state roads adjacent to our public and parochial schools in town. The letter was from I'm going to mispronounce her name, but Obisibia Aodo. She's a transportation engineer at the Department of Transportation. She said, "Good morning. Apologies for the later response. The Connecticut Department of Transportation can accommodate for the request. We should be wrapping up the review and work order in the coming weeks." This email was received on Thursday, October 10th. I haven't received further word. So that's promising. It's moving forward.
All right. Right. Any further questions
On anything?
on anything? Yes.
I have a question for the chief, please. On Lancaster Street, I went over and looked at that. I know that property owner was here and wanted to know, and it's this tight little street, and there were cars parked on both sides, and it's not a long street, but what was the determination? He wanted the signs put up, children to play, but I don't think we have any more.
Right, yeah, so I spoke to him and his wife, and we went up there multiple times. So we currently have a stealth speed sign, which is recording the speeds that are coming in to Lancaster so that we could get really, does it feel like they're speeding? Are they actually speeding? Just so we have some data, because without it, we kind of don't know. But I did go up there. It is very odd that, it ends and then wraps around that house and,
Yeah.
Other than changing the construction of the street, I'm not quite sure, what can happen with that piece. And it does say no outlet, which is the new term instead of dead end. So we still are in talks. I'm waiting for the data from that,
Right, yeah.
which I would say it's been up. Lieutenant Gavalas put it up maybe 2 weeks ago now, so I would like to get a full month's worth, and then for our next meeting, be able to report back, and then we'll see what we can do from there. While the parking on either side is difficult, it also does slow you down,
Well,
right?
yes,
So it's kind of like a natural
Right,
design
yes. yeah.
to require you to slow down, to not be able to take the turn into Lancaster as fast
Right.
as you normally would if it was wider.
Right.
And it allows for, people to have to kind of stop. But we're looking to see what it is we will be able to do. We have officers going up there to, just for some presence. But I think the speed sign with how fast people are actually going will be helpful for us.
Oh, good, yeah. And I know the perception, we're speeding, and we might not be, because a few years ago on Norris Street, they complained about speeding on it, and after 100 cars went through, 2 were over the speed limit and 5 were under. So I know perception is a big part of the whole problem.
Yeah, when you're standing, it feels a lot faster than, when you're a pedestrian and you're out there. And of course, when the children are out there, you're even more hypersensitive to it.
Okay, thank you.
And just a quick comment on the slow children playing signs. The deputy chief and I were actually attended a presentation today from the Connecticut Transportation Institute, and one of those very topics was discouraging local traffic authorities from installing signs that said slow children playing, as they're not regulatory, they're not warning signs, they don't fall into any of those classifications of signs, and really just become clutter on the side of the road that drivers don't pay attention to anyway. And we're trying to discourage that type of sign from being installed on our roadways.
Right, and I know some property owners that have children put them on their front lawns also, to slow people down, but, it is what it is. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Just one final statement concerning ARP funds. I guess some people were saying we may be a little low on money in purchasing. There was quite a bit of money, $300,000 from a steep grant. It's up number 7. I have here several pages of projects that were projected by the town manager, and actually there's some 32 different projects. And there was a $300,000 steep grant for safety, and basically it was school safety enhancement, a steep grant, and I think I gave you one there. Other members have it. And I think that would be a significant amount of money to purchase signs. Where's that money going? $300,000. I think you should be aware of this memo. There's
Yes, the memo was put out 6 to 9 months ago.
Yep, it was.
I know the signs we paid out of our operational funds for signs. I'm not sure on that one, if it was specifically for the Board of Ed for safety, or if it was, I don't think it was directed towards highways.
So you have no idea where the money.
I'm not sure which of how many projects are listed on that?
School safety enhancement grant for $300,000. The grant has been awarded by the state of Connecticut to improve safety of measures. Oh, you got it there?
It's on the second page. Second page.
I know you're new to the game, Jerry.
Yeah, it doesn't, I'm not sure if that's related to DPW. I think it was a grant towards the Board of Ed.
for?
I don't know. I don't know all the other grants in the other departments. I have no idea.
All right. I guess we'll have to ask more questions as to what the Board of Education is doing with $300,000 for school safety. Any other questions from any other members? Okay, we can move on to the agenda. Chairman's report, I have nothing to report except the updates which the chief has already given us. And Chief, you have your monthly report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. You have my statistical report comparing October to September. Do you have any questions on those before I move on to my chief's report? Moving on to the chief's report, informing the commission that the Watertown Police Department remains fully staffed right now with 42 active sworn members. And I'm especially happy to inform the commission that for the first time since my employment began with the town of Watertown in 2019, our communications center is fully staffed now with 9 full-time members. So we're very, very pleased that staffing is finally up to where it needs to be. A conditional offer has been given to a new entry applicant for the position of police officer. A background investigation is currently underway. We have a seat secured in the January of 2025 session at the Connecticut Police Academy. This hire will replace Lieutenant Tim Gavalis, who is retiring after 30 years of dedicated service. Lieutenant Gavalis's last actual day of work will be on December 12th, at which time we'll be having a send-off celebration on that date. And I will be informing all the commission members of the details on that via an invitation. 5 patrol officers have applied to participate in a promotional exam process for the rank of sergeant. The written exam is scheduled for next Monday, that's the 18th, with the oral panel taking place on Monday, November 25th. The successful candidate will be promoted in early December. Again, I will inform all the commission members with an invitation to that promotional ceremony. The Watertown Police Department continues to participate in several traffic-related grants. Most of these are all pass-through, federal highway pass-through grants to the Department of Transportation. They include the rural road speed enforcement, driving under the influence, motor vehicle crime suppression, click it or ticket, and distracted driving. Lastly, all required money to fund the full scope of the radio upgrade project has been approved. We are currently awaiting the Army Corps of Engineers to approve a proposed antenna site on the Black Rock Dam property. I do anticipate that approval to either come later this week or next week. Once this approval is obtained, we anticipate going to contract quickly. This project will upgrade the police department's radio system with additional coverage and will provide the fire department with a new UHF radio system and provide the Public Works Department with a full amount of compatible radios to communicate with both the police department and the fire department. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the chief?
No.
Seeing none, motion is in order to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen.
Recording stopped.
Thank you for coming tonight.